So this time you've pointed us this really interesting data about a sector I bet most people don't think about too much, but it's hugely important, industrial molds.
It is. It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, it's kind of a hidden world,
Yeah.
but in this deep dive, we're going to try and reveal some of the key players and dynamics of this really vital manufacturing market.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what are the big trends? Who are the companies to watch? So we can get a clear picture, right, of what's happening in this world of industrial molds.
Precisely. And the core of what we'll be looking at comes from a recent article. It's by Cognitive Market Research, and the title is, well, let me get it right, which are the top manufacturing companies of industrial mold market,
Okay.
published just at the end of last year, December 23rd, 2024. So it's pretty up to date. And our mission here really is to first understand the current state of this whole market. Identify who the main players are, what makes them stand out, and then, of course, look ahead. See what's coming. Potential trends, maybe some challenges ahead.
Yeah, because the future of making things is very tied up with how we make molds, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of the future, this market, I mean, it's not just surviving, it's booming. The report projects, get this, a jump from 50,215.6 million USD in 2024 to, wait for it, 105,315 million USD by 2032.
Whoa. That's more than double.
More than double. And that translates to a CG, a compound annual growth rate, of 9.7%. It's pretty striking.
Definitely not a stagnant market. What's driving that kind of growth?
Well, a few things. First, you've got massive demand from some key sectors. Think automotive, electronics, packaging, all heavily reliant on molds.
Makes sense.
And then on top of that, you have the tech side. Big advancements in manufacturing technologies, automation is playing a huge role. And of course, everyone's looking for lighter, more sustainable materials.
Yeah.
All these factors kind of feed into that growth.
Okay, so I think it's worth pausing for a second, just for our listeners who might not be, totally familiar with industrial molds. We're talking about the tools that give shape to all sorts of materials, right?
Yeah, exactly. Plastics, metals, you name it. These molds are what allow manufacturers to create those precise shapes and components that go into, well, pretty much everything around us.
It's like a hidden foundation of modern manufacturing. And when we talk about precision, efficiency, it all goes back to these molds.
100%.
Oh.
So, taking that into account, the Cognitive Market Research article does a good job, I think, of highlighting the companies that are really leading the way globally.
Okay, so names. Who are these giants of the industrial mold world? Who are the big dogs?
Well, according to their analysis, the top players right now are DMG Mori Co, Ltd, the TRUMPF Group, DMTG, that's the Dalian Machine Tool Group, then Amada Co, Ltd, and finally U.S. Industrial Machinery.
5 big names. All right, so we've got the names, but what actually puts them at the top? Like, what are we looking at when we're saying, okay, these companies are the leaders? What are the criteria?
That's the important question, right? Because the name only tells you so much. The report uses a few key criteria. And the first one's pretty basic: revenue and market share.
Okay, so how much money are they making, and how big a slice of the pie do they have?
Exactly. That tells you a lot about their financial health, right? How stable they are. And also how dominant they are within the overall market. I mean, strong revenue generally means they're meeting a big demand. They're in a strong position.
Makes sense. If people are buying your stuff, you're probably doing something right. So what else matters when we're sizing up these companies?
Well, next you look at their product portfolio. Basically, what kind of molds are they offering? Because it's not just one size fits all, right? You've got injection molds, blow molds, extrusion molds, compression molds, a whole variety, each with its own purpose.
So the more diverse their offerings, the better they can serve different needs.
Right. Because think about it. The automotive industry needs different molds than, say, the packaging industry. So a company that can cater to all these different sectors with a variety of high-quality molds, that's a big advantage.
Variety is the spice of life, and also good business, it seems. What else?
Then there's the tech side of things. Technological advancements. I mean, we're talking about precision here, durability, efficiency. Companies that are really on top of their game. They're using cutting-edge technologies. Think additive manufacturing, 3D printing as it's known.
Ah, yes. That feels very futuristic, very 21st century.
It is. And you've also got automation in their production processes. Even AI-powered design tools are coming into play. It's all about pushing the boundaries of what's possible with mold making.
So it's not just about molds, it's about how you make the molds. Okay, I'm starting to see how complex this all is. What else should we consider?
Well, global reach is a big one. Can these companies effectively serve customers all over the world, both in established markets and in those emerging markets that are growing super fast?
So think global, Act local, being where the action is, wherever that might be.
Exactly. A company that's stuck in just one region is going to limit its potential, right? You
Mhm.
want to be able to tap into all those different demands and opportunities. And that leads to our next criterion, R&D.
Research and development, investing in the future.
Right, because this market's not standing still. It's constantly evolving. So the companies that are really serious about staying ahead, they're pumping resources into R&D, developing new technologies, new materials, more sustainable solutions. It's all about anticipating what the market's going to need next.
Staying one step ahead. And if you don't invest in R&D,
You risk falling behind. It's as simple as that. And then the final thing the report looks at is strategic alliances.
so it's not just about going it alone.
No, not at all. Building strong partnerships with other manufacturers, with material suppliers, it's a big deal
Yeah.
because it allows companies to enhance their offerings. They can reach more customers, tap into expertise they might not have in-house. It's all about collaboration, really.
Okay, so we've laid out the criteria. Now let's get into the specifics, starting with DMG Mori Co. Ltd. What's their story? What makes them a leader in industrial molds?
All right, so DMG Mori, they're known as well, a top-tier provider of manufacturing technology, really. And a big part of that is their expertise in high-precision machine tools, specifically CNC machines, that's computer numerical control for milling and turning.
Which are crucial for making molds.
Exactly. You need that incredible precision to create the molds that'll then be used to manufacture all sorts of components, from car parts to electronics.
So they're not just making molds, they're making the machines that make molds.
Right. And they've got a really strong global presence. Headquarters is in Nagoya, Japan, but they operate in over 40 countries.
Wow. So big footprint. How are they doing financially?
Doing very well.
Huh.
In 2023, their total sales hit 4.8 billion USD. Now, a chunk of that 720 million USD came specifically from their industrial mold segment.
Okay, so they're not just dabbling in this market, they're a major player.
Oh yeah, they hold a 9% share of the market, which puts them right up there at the top.
9%, that's a big slice. What kind of technology are they using to carve out that market share?
Well, they're known for some pretty advanced stuff. Like, they offer 5-axis machines, which, unlike your typical 3-axis machine that moves in 3 directions, these can move in 5, all at the same time.
Okay, so I'm picturing a machine that can dance. That's got to be useful for complex shapes.
Absolutely. It allows them to create much more intricate mold geometries. And they're also big on hybrid technologies, combining things like additive manufacturing into their machines.
So they're kind of pushing the boundaries of what a mold-making machine can do.
Yeah, they're really innovative, and their R&D is very focused on integrating AI and IoT into their machines, the Internet of Things.
Making those machines smarter.
Exactly. It's about boosting precision, minimizing downtime, increasing efficiency. They've even got a special laser tech series that combines additive and subtractive manufacturing all in one machine. Pretty cool stuff.
Very high-tech. Any real-world examples of how they're impacting the industry, like partnerships or anything like that?
Well, the report mentions a collaboration they had in 2023 with a big European car manufacturer. They worked together to develop these custom molds that were both lightweight and incredibly durable, which is a big deal in the automotive industry, right?
Yeah, lighter cars mean better fuel efficiency. So molds are impacting even that. It all connects.
It does. And DMG Mori is also very focused on sustainability, designing energy-efficient machines, using recyclable materials. They're trying to walk the walk.
Okay, very impressive. So moving on to the next big player on our list, the TRUMPF Group. What sets them apart?
TRUMPF's another powerhouse. They're particularly known for their expertise in laser technology and machine tools, absolutely vital for making high-precision molds.
Okay, so lasers, always cool.
Right. They're headquartered in Ditzing in Germany. And just like DMG Mori, they've got a huge global presence, over 70 subsidiaries worldwide. So they're definitely not just a local player.
Okay, so how do they stack up financially in the industrial mold market?
Well, in 2023, their total revenue reached 4.2 billion USD. And of that, about 620 million USD came from the mold market specifically.
So a little less than DMG Mori, but still a major chunk of change.
Yeah, they hold an 8% market share. So neck and neck with DMG Mori, really. Very competitive at the top there.
I'm sensing a rivalry. What's their secret weapon, technologically speaking?
Well, their real strength is in their advanced laser cutting and forming technologies. Their True Laser series is like the industry standard for a lot of mold makers. They're known for high speed and exceptional quality.
So they're really leaning into the laser side of things.
Big time. And they're also investing heavily in what we call smart manufacturing,
Uh-huh.
automation, Industry 4.0, all that good stuff that's really transforming the manufacturing landscape.
Hmm.
They're all about optimizing their production and, of course, keeping those costs down.
Got to stay competitive. Any new innovations coming out of the Trump PF camp lately?
Yeah, actually. Just last year, 2023, they launched a new green laser technology. It's specifically designed for working with reflective materials, which is a big deal for mold making in industries like electronics and automotive.
Oh, interesting, because a lot of components in those industries use those kinds of materials, right?
Exactly. So this new technology is a game changer for them. And just like DMG Mori, they're big on partnerships and sustainability. They're really trying to do things the right way.
Okay, so they're not just focused on the bottom line, they're thinking about the bigger picture. All right, let's move on to DMTG, the Dalian Machine Tool Group. They're the Chinese player in our top five, right?
That's right. They're actually one of the largest machine tool manufacturers in China, headquartered in Dalian, and they've got a pretty significant presence in the industrial mold market as well. They offer a wide range of CNC machining centers, lathes, milling machines, all the essential tools for making various types of industrial molds.
So they're kind of covering all the bases. What about their market share and revenue? How do they compare to the first two companies?
Well, in 2023, they reported total sales of 3.6 billion USD, and their industrial mold business brought in about 540 million USD. So a little smaller than DMG Mori and TRUMPF, but still good for a 7% global market share.
Okay, so a solid player in the global market. What's their main strategy? What sets them apart?
They're really focused on providing those high-quality yet affordable solutions, especially for those emerging markets where cost is a major factor. Their R&D is strong, and they've developed some advanced CNC systems that are known for their precision and durability.
So they're kind of filling that gap in the market for companies that need high quality without the premium price tag.
Exactly. And they're not afraid to innovate. Recently, they launched a new line of high-speed machining centers. They're specifically designed for creating those really complex mold geometries and working with lightweight materials, which, as you know, is becoming increasingly important in industries like automotive and aerospace.
Yeah, everyone's trying to shave off weight wherever they can. It sounds like they've got a home field advantage in the Asian market too, right?
Oh, absolutely. They have a very strong presence in the Asia-Pacific region. Combine that with their focus on cost effectiveness, and it's a winning formula.
Okay, on to our next company, Amada Co, Ltd, another Japanese company. Tell us about them.
Amada is interesting because they're considered a global leader in sheet metal machinery. But they've also got a bunch of solutions that are really relevant to the mold making industry. Laser cutting machines, press brakes, punching systems, all that high precision equipment that you need to make molds.
So they're coming at it from a slightly different angle, maybe, but still very much involved in the mold market.
Absolutely. In 2023, their total revenue was 3.2 billion USD. And out of that, their industrial mold segment brought in 480 million USD. So that gives them a 6.5% share of the global market.
All right, so still a significant player. What are some of their key strengths?
Oh, they're very focused on energy-efficient and eco-friendly solutions. Sustainability is a big part of their brand. One of their flagship products is the Enosys AJ Fiber Laser Series, super precise high-speed mold manufacturing.
Okay, so they're kind of leading the charge on the sustainability front.
They're definitely one of the companies to watch in that area. And last year, they also introduced a new line of IoT-enabled press brakes. Basically, they're connecting their machines to the internet, which allows for better monitoring and data analysis, which leads to more efficient production.
Smart factories. Everything's getting connected these days.
It is. And Amada is also big on collaborations. They work with a lot of major automotive and electronics manufacturers, so they've got their finger on the pulse of what those industries need.
Smart move. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about U.S. industrial machinery. What's their story?
So U.S. industrial machinery is a leading supplier of a wide range of industrial equipment. Think CNC machining centers, metalworking machines, laser systems, the whole shebang.
So they're kind of like a one-stop shop for manufacturers.
In a way, yeah. But their real focus within the mold market is on delivering those cost-effective and reliable solutions. They've really carved out a niche for themselves in that area.
Okay, so appealing to a certain type of customer, maybe?
Yeah, they tend to work a lot with small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, companies that need high quality but might not have the budget for some of those top-of-the-line machines.
So they're kind of democratizing access to high-quality manufacturing technology.
You could say that, and they're always innovating. Recently, they introduced a new line of compact CNC systems that are perfect for smaller companies doing high-precision mold work. Think packaging, consumer goods, that kind of thing.
So they're kind of tailoring their products to a specific segment of the market.
Exactly. And they've got a great reputation for customer service and a strong distribution network across North America. So they're really well positioned to serve those smaller manufacturers.
Okay, so we've covered the big five.
Oh,
But
yeah.
like any market, there's always someone trying to disrupt things, right? Who are the up-and-comers that are looking to challenge these established players?
Oh, there are always challengers, right? And the report actually highlights few that are worth keeping an eye on. Dynacast International, Indomim, Smith Metal Products, Fuchs Lubricants, and Heller Machine Tools.
A good mix of names there. What's their strategy? How are they trying to shake things up?
Well, a lot of them are focusing on innovation, bringing new technologies to the table, forming strategic partnerships, and finding ways to make things more cost-effectively. They're often a bit more agile than those bigger companies, so they can adapt to market changes more quickly.
Nimble and quick. That's often the advantage of being the smaller player. Okay, let's dig into some of those companies you mentioned, starting with Dynacast International. What makes them a potential threat to the big guys?
Well, Dynacast is known for their precision die casting. They're a global leader in that area. And they're using this multi-slide die casting technology, which lets them meet those really high-precision demands of industries like automotive, electronics, and healthcare.
So they're going after those high-end muskets.
They are. And they've got manufacturing facilities all over the world, over 20 countries. So they can produce things locally, which helps with reducing lead times, a big plus for their customers.
Speed is everything these days. Okay, what about Indomim? What's their specialty?
Indomim is interesting. They're based in India, and they specialize in metal injection molding, or MIM. They're known for making really complex, high-strength metal components at a very competitive price.
So quality and affordability, that's a winning combination.
It is, and they're strategically focused on those critical applications in the automotive, aerospace, and medical industries. They're building a strong reputation for reliability.
Okay, so they're really targeting those industries where precision and quality are paramount. What about Smith Metal Products? What sets them apart?
Smith Metal Products focuses on powder injection molding, or PIM. They've developed some really cost-effective, high-performance solutions for a range of industries, from industrial to consumer goods to healthcare. And a big thing for them is sustainability. They're really committed to eco-friendly manufacturing practices and minimizing waste.
So they're appealing to that growing segment of customers who really care about how things are made.
Exactly. And it's not just a marketing ploy. They're genuinely committed to it. Okay, now Fuchs Lubricants is a bit of a wild card, right? They're a lubricant company. What are they doing on this list?
Yeah, that one caught my eye too. It seems a bit out of place.
It does, but they've actually strategically diversified into mold technologies.
Hmm.
They offer these specialized lubricants that are specifically designed for metalworking and molding. And their lubricants can actually improve the performance of molds, make them last longer, and reduce maintenance costs.
So they're kind of like the silent partner helping those molds run smoothly.
Exactly. They're adding value in a way that most people don't even think about. And last but not least, we have Heller Machine Tools. They're really pushing the boundaries of CNC machining.
CNC machining again. It seems to be the core technology in this industry.
It really is. And Heller's known for their high-precision automated solutions. They're big on Industry 4.0, the Internet of Things, all those interconnected smart factory concepts. Their machines can provide real-time data, predictive maintenance, all that good stuff that helps manufacturers run more efficiently.
Okay, so they're bringing the digital revolution to the world of industrial molds.
Pretty much. And another key thing for them is customization. They can tailor their machine tool solutions to specific customer needs, which gives them a competitive edge.
So for someone listening to all this and thinking, hey, maybe I want to get into this industrial mold market, what advice would you give them? What should they be focusing on?
Well, the report emphasizes a few key things. First off, innovation is key. You've got to be bringing new technologies to the table, whether it's precision die casting, metal injection molding, advanced CNC machining. Whatever it is, you need to be pushing the boundaries.
So you can't just rely on the old ways of doing things. You need to be thinking ahead.
Absolutely. And of course, cost effectiveness is crucial. You need to figure out how to manufacture your molds efficiently, source your materials wisely, and keep those costs down. Otherwise, you're not going to be competitive.
Yeah, the bottom line always matters. What about specialization? Should new companies be trying to be all things to all people, or should they focus on a niche?
I think there's room for both, but being able to offer customized solutions is a big plus. If you can tailor your molds to very specific applications, think lightweight components for electric vehicles or specialized parts for medical devices, you can really carve out a valuable niche for yourself.
So being the go-to expert for a certain type of mold or a certain industry.
Exactly. And then geographically, the report suggests that the Asia-Pacific region, especially India and China, is where a lot of the growth is going to be. So forming partnerships with local companies in those regions, participating in trade shows, really getting your name out there, that's going to be important.
So think global, act local. That theme keeps coming up. And of course, we can't forget about sustainability.
Right. Using eco-friendly materials, having energy-efficient production processes. These are things that are only going to become more important. Customers are demanding it. And frankly, it's just the right thing to do.
Okay, so taking a step back and looking at everything we've discussed, what's the overall takeaway? What's the state of the industrial mold market right now, and where is it heading?
Well, I think the big picture is one of growth. The market is expected to grow significantly over the next decade, driven by those technological advances we've been talking about, and the ever-increasing demand for more sophisticated, customized molds. The report's projection of, over 105 billion USD by 2032 is pretty telling.
So, good time to be in the mold making business, maybe.
Could be. Now, the established players, those big five companies we discussed, they're going to continue to be major forces. They've got the resources, the expertise, the global reach, and they're not standing still. They're innovating, investing in R&D, and adapting to the market.
But they can't get complacent, right? Because those smaller companies, those disruptors, they're hungry.
Exactly. And they're bringing new ideas, new technologies, often at a lower cost. They're targeting specific niches, and they're often more agile and adaptable. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out.
A classic David and Goliath story. Okay, so for our listeners who stuck with us through this whole deep dive, what are the key things they should remember about the industrial mold market?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that it's a dynamic, evolving market with a lot of potential. There are a few major players, but the market is moderately fragmented, which means there's room for new companies to enter and succeed. And the key to success, well, it's a mix of things. You need strong revenue, of course, but you also need a diverse range of products, a commitment to innovation, a global outlook, and a focus on sustainability. And you need to be smart about your partnerships.
Okay, so a lot to think about. But hopefully our listeners now have a better understanding of this fascinating and important industry. And before we go, I want to leave you with a final thought. We've talked a lot about technology and innovation, but I'm curious, what about the bigger picture? Like, with the growing emphasis on circular economies, on reducing waste, on making things last longer, how might that impact the way we think about industrial molds? Could we see a shift towards like a mold as a service model, or maybe even entirely new ways of creating components that completely bypass traditional molding processes?
That's a really interesting question. And I think it speaks to the fact that even an industry as seemingly specialized as industrial mold is connected to these larger trends and challenges. The way we make things is constantly evolving, and who knows what the future holds.
Exciting times. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of industrial molds. We hope you found it insightful and, dare I say, even a little bit fascinating.
It's been a pleasure. And I always love exploring these often overlooked industries that are so essential to our modern world.
Me too. And to our listeners, as always, keep thinking, keep exploring, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.